Calvary Bible Church, welcome back. Beyond Sunday is back. And not better than ever.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
So we are functioning on limited capacity. Do you guys hear this? You shouldn't, because we're rolling off of my phone, and we're going old school and figuring that something is better than nothing.
Send all complaints either to Jordan Sittler or Roger Garber. Just send them.
Yeah, send them to Roger Garber.
They both can handle it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. So I do have a joke though. I'm hoping the camera picks this one up. I should maybe save it for the week where these microphones are working, but are you ready? Why did the chicken cross the road?
I have no idea.
Me neither. I grilled him for 2 hours and couldn't get anything out of him.
Oh my.
Got that one from my mom.
That's
Shout out
good.
to Mom.
Good.
There we go.
Moms are great.
They are great. Happy Mother's Day. So it has been a little while, and just a quick look into the future here, where we've been, where we're going. We've missed probably close to a month now of Matthew chapter 8.
Mhm.
And so we are not going to tackle that all in one shot. We're not doing it now. We're going to pick up where we are in our current sermon series, but we do anticipate kind of rehashing some of that at the end of December, Lord willing, before we get back into the book of Matthew. And so hopefully that works out for the good.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I mentioned it on Sunday, but we're doing a quick 2-part series on the new mission statement and refocus. And so I really focused in, the meat of my sermon was driven from that news phrase, pursuing God and advancing His kingdom.
Yeah.
And then Randy this next week will hit on what being a mature disciple looks like. But really quick, just background. I didn't get to get into this at all in the sermon because it was long enough as it was.
You think?
Yeah, I do think. I have to trim that back next time. But it was really neat. I did just reference it early on. It's been fun to be able to look back and see how God was kind of working. So I had a sticky note in my office, and I don't know if I told you this or not, but I always have sticky notes in my office, and usually one of them has Pastor Randy's name on the top, and one of them said, Randy, deep discipleship. I think this is something we want to talk about for the upcoming year. And where it came from was a podcast that I listened to, a Gospel Coalition podcast, where they interviewed J.T. English, who is an author of a book called Deep Discipleship. And the podcast was just kind of trying to diagnose, where's the American church, where are some things where are some weaknesses, and how can we continue to push the evangelical American church in a God-honoring direction. And I thought it was a really good podcast, hitting on some of the dangers and some of the things that are going to sustain the church. And I had that note, and then Judd gives me a call one day, Buckwalter, one of our elders, and says, hey, you got to listen to this podcast. And I think he reached out to me and Bill Patton for some reason. I forget why. And I chuckled and said, I already heard it, great podcast. And we were able to, then the three of us, I think we grabbed the book and started to read through it, and suggested to the elder board that we read through it as a board. And so that's a little bit of the background there. And so we all worked through the book, and if you'll remember, back in June, we asked for prayer from the church, just saying, hey, the elders are getting away for a weekend. It's not been an annual thing. It's not been a regular thing that we've done as an elder board. But we wanted to get away for a couple of days, spend some time in prayer, and then just a lot of discussion. And we did. It was a long couple of days of long conversations and trying to look into the future and just make some plans and be strategic about it. And so that's kind of where all this is birthed out of. And there's a little backstory there. But one of the things that shifted, at least a little bit, was this phrase. And so, Randy, I'm going to ask you, though, to rehash a little bit of where teaching people to do the things Jesus said to do, where's that been effective? Why is it not obsolete?
Yeah, I think the effectiveness of any of those phrases just has to do with the ability to keep a congregation focused on a main goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I'm trying to think of when this all started for churches in church history, in recent church history. And a lot of the readings that I used to do in the early days, churches were coming up with these mission statements, vision statements, but basically it just helps give us sort of a rallying cry, keeps us focused a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're able to repeat it, teaching people to do the things Jesus said to do, if we repeat it enough, more and more of our folks are going to hear it, they're going to resonate with it, and they're going to understand what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
So from, that phrase actually came right out of one of Dallas Willard's books, and his question was, why don't more churches use the Great Commission as their mission statement, because it's so clear.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were kicking around, what should we do? This is now going back several years. I said, actually Rich and I were together, and Rich and I just said, hey, you know what? This seems like a good phrase for us. Let's tell the elders about it, see what they think. And so out of that, we adopted that. And the reason why it's not obsolete is because it comes from Jesus' Great Commission. So, everybody around the table at the elders room, even recently, we don't want to, there's nothing we can do to replace that.
Mm-hmm.
That is our mission. Remember what we talked about in that room, and Austin might have been with us as well. When we met together in that room, what we were dealing with, if we're going to make a shift, if we wanted to use different language,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be? And some of us discussed the fact that it would be good if the next phrase that we sort of identify ourselves with, it would be nice if that next one is something that every single parishioner could identify with and say, yeah, that's me too. Teaching people to do the things that Jesus said to do is more of like the church. That's what this church does. We make disciples. It's true that individuals do that, but the bottom line is, when you hear that, we teach people to do the things Jesus said to do. That's what the church does. That's what church teachers do, and so forth, whether they're pastors or not.
Mm-hmm.
But to go, to be able to think about pursuing God and advancing His kingdom, that's something that we want every single attendee, member, whatever you call them, we want them all on board with that. And so, whether we're talking about a mission statement that's still teaching people to do the things that Jesus said to do, and then maybe a vision statement, or I think you were working with words like maybe objective, or our aim, or our goal, or however we end up settling on that. The old one from Matthew 28 is very, very current. But this new phrase for us, I think, is a fresh way for us to think about, this is where we want to go. This is what we want to be. This is what we want to be doing together. So
it's fresh. It's a fresh way to express kind of how we feel the church should be identified.
Yeah. So I did answer a little bit about the, why is the other one not obsolete, but then sort of merged into.
Yeah, right. It's not obsolete because, like you said, it comes out of Jesus' mouth.
Yeah.
Here's your mission. Go make disciples.
Yeah.
Teaching them to obey all I've commanded you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're always, and I think that obviously comes through so clearly with one of our core values.
Yeah.
Disciple
making.
Yeah, making disciples of neighbors and nations.
Yeah.
Good. So we little behind the scenes. Obviously, anytime you have discussions like this, you're gonna have a variety of opinions, and you could go any direction. You start thinking about words too much, and everything sounds stupid. But what we were kicking around all kinds of different ideas, and one that we almost settled on, this is bonus information here, was enjoying God and either extending or expanding His kingdom.
That's right.
We like the alliteration, but different opinions on different words. But one of the things we liked about that, and we won't focus on it beyond this point, but we really liked, and Randy and I were agreed on this, the enjoying God part of it. For a church like Calvary Bible Church, pursuing God is probably a little bit easier for everyone to accept or wrap their mind around. And it sounds like Calvary Bible Church, but enjoying God was something that we thought had a lot of value because it was a little different than maybe how we normally think. And just encouraging us as a faith family that as we're pursuing God, we want to be enjoying Him too. And in your personal times, your meditations, your reflections, your time with the Lord, it's to get back to our history a little bit and reshaping who we are and how we go throughout our spiritual faith journey. We want to be people who enjoy God, and so it's a little bonus behind the scenes there for you.
That was a fun conversation too, just for the two of us to think through. What do we want to say to our folks on a Sunday on a regular basis so that they keep hearing some direction that gives us an identity. And I think it's so helpful. I think, again, hopefully you're hearing the core values on a regular basis on Sunday, and that's a direct result of our desire to keep everyone in the church on the same page with respect to who we are. And so I know I've personally benefited from those. And you worked with Jordan on, so Jordan just wasn't responsible for the tech stuff. You and Jordan worked together on the slogans, on those slogans for the core values, if I remember correctly. We had the core values, Bible shaped, and we had those types of things.
Yeah.
But not the sentence describing them, and that's what you and Jordan, I think, sort of worked on.
Austin and I did most of
did you? Okay.
ground, but then he's very good with words, and I'm not, and so he was always kind of like a helpful. Yeah. Hey, how's this sound?
So kind of the three of you were. Good.
It's good.
My point is, hopefully you're hearing the core values come out on a Sunday. And you'll also be hearing, the mission statement, and this new sort of phrase for us, pursuing God and advancing the kingdom. You'll be hearing that too, and so those are good things.
Yeah, they define us. And so just to wrap up, the texts, and you have it up on your phone.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
We were in Philippians 3, which is where I centered on the first half of that phrase, pursuing God. And I mean, you just see the passion, like you can feel the passion coming out of Paul there, where he says, I want nothing more than to know Him, and just that relationship. And so he uses the verb to know Him, and it's not a stretch at all to think that he was in pursuit of God in that knowledge of Him. And so that we want to have that same kind of mindset that Paul had there.
Yeah, and so beyond Sunday, again, we're well beyond Sunday now. We're actually recording on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
So, when you look at that Philippians text, and as I was listening to you on Sunday, through the week is the time for us to ask what part of our life shows that we are in the pursuit of this incredibly great pursuit of knowing Christ, which is in verse 8, the surpassing worth of that. And then later on, the verse 10 that you quoted, that I may know Him. I think this is the time for us beyond Sunday to say, let's make sure that in your own your daily experience and your daily calendar and schedule, that it reflects this, not only the desire to do it, because I know what it's like to desire, like I really want to be, I want to be active in doing this, but not only the desire, but actually the actual putting into practice things in your week that are going to contribute to gaining in this knowledge. And that's important. How you do that, I mean, the sky's the limit. There are so many opportunities nowadays, but it is important for us to be in the pursuit of that together. If knowing Christ is that important, then all right, then we put in that effort.
And then finishing up with the second half of that phrase, advancing His kingdom. How does that come out in our lives?
Yeah, I think I think a lot of you will, you'll resonate with this. You're used to this. It's familiar to you. I think your own prayer time, does that have a focus on some aspect of evangelism, either local or global? And then your own interaction with the non-Christians in your world is it on your radar? Is it something that you're doing? Unlike the scribes and the Pharisees in Luke 15 that were, they're grumbling against Jesus because he's receiving sinners and eating with them. Mm-hmm. That whole chapter, Luke 15, which is commonly referred to as the parable of the prodigal son, that whole chapter is devoted to making sure that we are not following the example of those religious leaders. Instead, we're following Jesus' example. So, are we praying for the lost, and are we loving them and interacting with them? It's critical.
It is, and it's not usually a one-time thing. I was talking with Seth Hershey last night about just relationships that we have with folks, and usually the folks who are far from God, they need a lot of love, a lot of time and effort, and just persistence and prayer and all those things. And
who knows what's in their lives? I mean, who knows when the Spirit of God is going to, as that John 3 text. I was listening to a preacher yesterday, and the wind blows where it wants to, and who knows when the Spirit of God is going to blow into that person's life, and we have no idea. It's just. And one of the things that we talked about earlier today too, just to let we've got Christmas caroling coming up soon, and Austin, we're so glad to have him a part of the staff, and Austin's is part of our focus. Part of Austin's focus is local evangelism, and so even the Christmas caroling coming up, and we're excited next month. There'll be a large group of us headed into a neighborhood close to this church, and if you've done it, it's one of the greatest opportunities of the year to sing with these people, to sing these familiar carols. But who knows who's being impacted by those songs, the gift that we give out, and so forth. So that certainly is expanding the kingdom.
Yeah, and I think anytime you're thinking about the kingdom, we need to be cognizant of who the king is and how we live in his kingdom, following his direction,
for
in
sure.
our lives.
Yeah,
it comes out in more ways than I think you just can quickly think of. It's just about everything we do can be a kingdom advancing kind of come from a mindset, which is in a response to that first part of that phrase, our pursuit of God and that relationship we have with him.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the people that actually work for a living, and they work hard and they do good quality work.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are shining as a testimony, because people looking on and see that's not necessarily the norm anymore.
Mm-mm.
And so to have a Christian person excelling on the job, doing the best of their ability, that can be a very strong testimony. I work this way because of my relationship with God.
Teachers, nurses, plumbers. I mean, when quality work's done.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yep.
And Christians, we should all be that, and that's kingdom advancing.
It is. It is.
In a very
salt and light.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Well, that's all I have.
All right.
I have no idea how long this has been. I'm out of my element here.
Yeah.
But even though
it wasn't as long as your sermon on Sunday, I can guarantee you that.
Gosh, I gotta guard next time. It's gonna be super short.
There you go.
But if you have any questions about this podcast, feel free to email them in, reach out to us, because we're excited about just moving forward with this refocus and just some opportunities for the church. It's good season, good time. We're out of the day-to-day survival mode. Remember that? You ever watch Alone?
We never did.
Yeah, check that out.
We saw something similar to that.
Okay.
It was also in Canada.
Okay, yeah, it's a fun show. But anyway, season of the church. We're just really fortunate to be in the place where we are.
Here we are.
And all glory to God on that. So glad to be doing this again too. Hopefully the joke quality improved since we've been gone. It's one of my New Year's resolutions.
That's debatable.
All right, now we're good. Love you guys. We'll see you all on Sunday.